Alphonse Capone was born on January 17, 1899 in Brooklyn, New York. He was born into an immigrant family. His family was the average Italian family. His father worked as a barber and mother a seamstress. His family was a family of 11 including his parents. Alphonse had 8 siblings: James, Raphael, Salvador, John, Albert, Matthew, Rose, and Mafalda. At school, Alphonse showed a lot of promise. However, he had trouble following the rules in a Catholic school. His education was cut short when he was expelled for hitting his teacher at the age of 14. Soon after, he met Johnny Torrio, a gangster that had a major influence in his life. Alphonse joined many small gangs, many of them Junior 40 Thieves, Bowery Boys, Brooklyn Rippers, and the powerful 5 Points Gang. During these days, he would get into many fights. One of these fights, he'd happen to get his left cheek cut. Later, he would get his nickname Scarface. At the age of 20, Capone moved to Chicago when Johnny had invited him to work for Big Jim. Soon after, Johnny Torrio became the boss after Big Jim. Capone was his right-hand man. In the year 1925, Alphonse became the boss at the age of 26 after Johnny retired. With Al Capone as boss, he expanded his gang. He was heavily involved in bootlegging and got very rich doing so. Newspapers at the time estimated that Al Capone's annual revenue to be $100 million. Capone took control over the city Cicero when William Hal Thompson won in office. The two were in cahoots, and many believed that Thompson was paid a large sum of money by Capone. He won office due to the threats that Capone dished out, and Capone, along with his brothers, killed the other competitors with the help of many others. However, his brother Salvador was killed by a police officer. With the law by his side, Capone was a very dangerous person as he could do whatever he wanted. However, he was a very public guy. Unlike most gangsters, everyone would often see him in public. He would go to movies and everyone would see him. He even donated money to many different charities. But this shows you that he was kind of a caring person, as he did donate money to charities, and he also cared for his friends and family. And he even said, "Nobody's on the legit. Your brother or your father gets in a jam, what do? Do you just sit back and let them go over the road without trying to help? You'd be a yellow dog if you did. Nobody's really on the legit when it comes down to cases." This shows that he cares about his friends and family. He also hunted and killed a thug that assaulted his friend. He got away with many murders because of lack of evidence. This happened many times. He later bought a very luxurious house in Miami. He paid for everything in cash so he wouldn't have to pay taxes on anything. He lived a very luxurious lifestyle. He was later arrested by police officers and sent to jail. However, he was released due to good behavior. However, once he was released, he was sent right back to jail to Alcatraz in 1934. And after he was released, he died of cardiac arrest in the year of 1947. Now that we know about Alphonse Capone, the great American gangster that was extremely successful, but now, how does he really connect to the novel The Great Gatsby? Well, he does connect to the novel, because he's a very similar character in comparison to Jay Gatsby. Al Capone is a very rich person through the means of illegal activity. In the novel The Great Gatsby, Jay Gatsby lives in East Egg, the very rich area of New York. He throws these very luxurious and crazy parties and is extremely rich. However, later on in the story, we find out he achieved this by illegal means. We find this out when Tom says, "I found out what your drugstores were here in Chicago and sold grain alcohol over the counter. And I picked him for a bootlegger the first time I saw him. I wasn't far from wrong." Now these quotes show that he amassed a large amount of money to be able to live a very luxurious lifestyle that Gatsby does. So he must have been extremely successful, similar to Al Capone. And Al Capone thrived as a bootlegger. and they both lived a very luxurious lifestyle. Now, this just shows the connection between the American Gangster and the novel The Great Gatsby. They're both very similar characters. Al Capone, Jay Gatsby, and that's the connection between the two. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Alphonse Capone was born on January 17, 1899 in Brooklyn, New York. He was born into an immigrant